Did you know that missing your November planting window could cost you hundreds of dollars in grocery bills this winter? Sounds dramatic, but it's true. Today, we're counting down 25 incredibly productive crops you need to get in the ground this month. You've probably been told November is too late to plant anything, and number 15 produces so much food you'll be giving it away to neighbors. Stick around, because this list might just transform how you view winter gardening forever. I've been extending my growing season for 30 years, and one thing that still amazes me is how many gardeners shut down their gardens in November. Extension services, master gardener programs, even seasoned growers miss out on these opportunities. Yet these crops are sitting in nurseries right now, waiting to be planted. The first crop we must talk about is garlic. Garlic is the ultimate November planting priority because this is when it naturally wants to go in the ground. Music and German red varieties are particularly exceptional for zones 3 through 10, giving you those large, flavorful bulbs that store for months. The cold temperatures garlic experiences over winter are essential for bulb formation through a process called vernalization. Without at least 40 days below 40 degrees Fahrenheit, you'll end up with single round bulbs instead of proper cloves. Plant individual cloves pointy side up, 2 inches deep, and 4 to 6 inches apart in loose, well-draining soil. Add a 2-inch layer of mulch immediately after planting to prevent soil heaving during freeze-thaw cycles. The beauty of November planting is that garlic develops its root system all winter long, which means explosive growth come spring. You're looking at harvesting full-sized bulbs by early summer, typically late June or July depending on your zone. Each clove you plant now will multiply into an entire bulb with 8 to 12 cloves, making this one of the most productive investments you can make in your garden right now. Next up, we have shallots, which are garlic's sophisticated cousin, and November is absolutely prime time for getting French red shallots in the ground for zones 3 through 10. Unlike regular onions, shallots multiply from a single bulb into clusters of 5 to 10 new bulbs, making them incredibly productive for the space they occupy. Plant them just like garlic, about 2 inches deep and 6 inches apart. But here's what makes them special for November planting. Shallots need that same cold vernalization period to properly divide and form multiple bulbs. The French red variety is exceptionally cold hardy and develops that prized mild, sweet flavor that makes shallots so valuable in the kitchen. They're actually easier to grow than onions because they're less prone to disease and don't require as precise timing. Come early summer, usually a few weeks before your garlic, you'll be harvesting clusters that can store for up to 8 months when properly cured. Each shallot you plant now essentially becomes a whole handful by harvest time. The key is getting them in before the ground freezes solid, and November gives them just enough time to establish their root system before going dormant for winter. Multiplier onions, especially the yellow potato onion variety, are the hidden gems of November planting that work beautifully in zones 3 through 10. These remarkable plants take one bulb and turn it into 8 to 12 new bulbs by early summer, making them possibly the most productive onion crop you can grow. Plant them 2 inches deep and 6 inches apart in well-draining soil, ideally where you haven't grown other alliums recently. What makes November perfect for multiplier onions is that they need to experience cold temperatures to trigger their multiplication process. Unlike seed onions that take forever to mature, these will give you full-sized onions from a fall planting in just 7 to 8 months. The yellow potato onion variety is particularly exceptional because it produces both eating-sized bulbs and smaller bulbs perfect for replanting, creating a self-sustaining cycle in your garden. They're also incredibly storage-friendly, keeping for up to a year when properly cured and stored in a cool, dry place. Many gardeners don't even know these exist, but once you grow them, you'll never want to be without them. The flavor is richer and sweeter than regular storage onions, and they require virtually no maintenance through winter once planted. Now, if you're finding this video helpful so far, I'd really appreciate it if you'd hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It helps us reach more gardeners like yourself, who would also find it so helpful to avoid these mistakes. All right, let's keep going. Next up, we have winter peas. Specifically, Austrian winter peas are a November planting game changer for zones 6 through 10 that serves double duty in your garden. Not only do they fix nitrogen in your soil all winter long, improving it for spring crops, but you can also harvest the tender shoots and pea tips throughout winter for fresh salads. Plant them by broadcasting about 2 pounds per 1,000 square feet, or in rows 1 inch deep and 2 inches apart. These incredible plants can handle temperatures down to 10 degrees Fahrenheit once established, making them perfect for November sowing. The shoots and tendrils they produce are a delicacy in high-end restaurants, selling for premium prices, yet they're incredibly easy to grow. You can start harvesting shoots when plants reach 6 to 8 inches tall, and they'll keep regenerating new growth all winter long in mild climates. If you leave some plants unharvested, they'll bloom with beautiful purple flowers in early spring that bees absolutely love, then produce edible pea pods. As a cover crop, they're simultaneously protecting your soil from erosion, suppressing weeds, and adding organic matter when you till them under in spring. This single November planting gives you fresh greens, all winter, improved soil, and early spring peas. Spinach varieties like Bloomsdale and Giant Winter are November superstars in zones 6 through 10 because they actually germinate better in cold soil than warm. Plant seeds half an inch deep in rows 12 inches apart, and you'll see germination even when soil temperatures are in the 40s. The secret to November spinach success is that it grows slowly through winter, developing incredibly thick, sweet leaves without any of the bitterness that plagues summer spinach. Giant winter spinach can survive temperatures down to 5 degrees Fahrenheit with just a simple row cover, making it bulletproof for most gardeners. You'll get your first harvest of baby leaves in about 40 days, then the plants will continue producing all winter long in mild climates or resume growth in early spring in colder zones. The leaves that develop during cold weather have higher sugar content, which acts as natural antifreeze and makes them taste absolutely incredible. Unlike spring-planted spinach that bolts the moment temperatures rise, fall-planted spinach stays in harvest mode for months. A 10-foot row planted now will provide fresh spinach for salads and cooking from December through May in most zones. The key is keeping the soil from completely freezing by adding a thick mulch layer around plants once they're established. Broad beans, also known as fava beans, particularly the Aqua Dulce Claudia variety, are incredibly cold hardy legumes perfect for November planting in zones 6 through 10. These remarkable plants can survive temperatures down to 15 degrees Fahrenheit once established, making them one of the few beans you can successfully plant in fall. Sow them directly 1 to 2 inches deep and 4 to 6 inches apart in double rows for support. What makes November ideal for broad beans is that they need cool weather to develop properly, actually struggling in temperatures above 70 degrees. The Aqua Dulce Claudia variety is specifically bred for fall planting and will grow slowly through winter, exploding into growth come spring. You'll be harvesting fresh shell beans in May or June, when everyone else is just planting their summer beans. The young pods can be eaten whole when they're 3 to 4 inches long, or wait for full-sized beans that are incredibly creamy and rich. These plants also fix nitrogen in your soil while growing, improving fertility for summer crops that follow. Each plant produces 15 to 20 pods with 5 to 8 large beans per pod, giving you substantial harvests from a November planting. They're also one of the most protein-rich vegetables you can grow, making them incredibly valuable for your garden's productivity. Winter lettuce varieties like Winter Density and Arctic King transform November plantings into continuous salad harvests through the coldest months, thriving in zones 6 through 10. These specially bred varieties can handle temperatures down to 20 degrees Fahrenheit without protection and even colder under row covers or in cold frames. Plant seeds a 1/4 inch deep in rows or broadcast them in blocks, then thin to 6 inches apart once they germinate. Arctic King is particularly remarkable because it actually grows during winter rather than just surviving, producing crisp, sweet leaves when most gardens are dormant. Winter density forms dense, romaine-type heads that are incredibly cold-resistant and have exceptional flavor that intensifies with cold exposure. The beauty of November lettuce planting is that you avoid all the pest and disease problems that plague summer lettuce. Plus, these varieties never turn bitter. You can begin harvesting outer leaves in just 30 to 40 days, and the plants will continue producing new growth all winter long. In mild winter areas, a single November planting can provide fresh lettuce until the following May. Even in colder zones, these varieties will overwinter under simple protection and give you the earliest spring lettuce imaginable, weeks before spring-planted lettuce is ready. Mache, also called corn salad, particularly the Vit variety, is arguably the most cold-tolerant salad green you can grow, perfect for zones 4 through 10 when planted in November. This remarkable little plant actually prefers cold weather and will grow happily in temperatures that would kill most other greens, continuing to produce even under snow. Scatter seeds on the soil surface and barely cover them as they need some light to germinate, spacing plants about 4 inches apart once established. What makes Mache exceptional for November planting is its ability to germinate in soil temperatures as low as 40 degrees Fahrenheit when most seeds would simply rot. The Vit variety produces small rosettes of tender, nutty-flavored leaves that are prized by gourmet chefs, but rarely found in stores because they don't ship well. You'll start harvesting in about 50 days, cutting entire rosettes or picking individual leaves, and the plants will regrow for multiple harvests. The leaves are incredibly nutrient-dense, containing 3 times more vitamin C than lettuce and high levels of omega-3 fatty acids. Mache self-sows readily, meaning one November planting can establish a permanent patch that returns year after year. It's virtually pest and disease-free, requiring no maintenance once established except occasional harvesting. Clatonia, commonly known as miner's lettuce, is a self-establishing winter wonder that thrives with November planting in zones 4 through 10. This unique plant, specifically Clatonia perfoliata, forms distinctive disc-shaped leaves with the stem growing right through the center, creating little cups that catch rainwater. Broadcast seeds on the soil surface or barely cover them, as they germinate best with exposure to light and cold temperatures. Once you plant Clatonia in November, you're essentially establishing a permanent winter salad green that will self-seed and return every fall without any effort on your part. The heart-shaped baby leaves appear first, followed by the characteristic round leaves that are incredibly tender and have a fresh, mild flavor with hints of spinach. You can start harvesting in about 40 to 50 days, picking individual leaves or cutting whole plants which will often regrow. This California native actually needs cold stratification to germinate well, making November sowing ideal as seeds experience natural winter conditions. It grows happily in partial shade where other crops struggle, making use of garden spaces that would otherwise be unproductive in winter. The entire plant is edible, including stems and flowers, providing continuous harvests from December through April in most zones. Garden cress, especially the curly cress variety, is one of the fastest germinating crops you can plant in November, perfect for zones 4 through 10. This peppery green sprouts in just 2 to 4 days even in cold soil and is ready to harvest in as little as 2 weeks, making it ideal when you want fresh greens quickly before winter fully sets in. Broadcast seeds thickly on prepared soil and barely cover them, then water gently to ensure good soil contact. The remarkable thing about garden cress is its ability to germinate at soil temperatures as low as 35 degrees Fahrenheit, when most seeds would remain dormant, Curly cress produces frilly, delicate leaves with a spicy, peppery flavor similar to watercress, but much easier to grow. You can harvest it as microgreens at just 1 inch tall, or let it grow to 6 inches for full-sized leaves that are excellent in salads and sandwiches. The plant is incredibly cold-hardy once established, and will continue producing new growth even after repeated harvests. A small patch sown now will provide fresh, vitamin-rich greens throughout winter with minimal care. For continuous harvests, sow a new patch every 2 weeks through November, and you'll have fresh cress all winter long under protection. Radishes like French Breakfast and Cherry Belle are November planting champions in zones 6 through 10 because they actually develop better flavor and texture in cold weather. Plant seeds 1/2 inch deep and 1 inch apart, then thin to 2 inches for proper root development. These fast-growing varieties can still produce a crop in 25 to 30 days when planted in early November, beating the hard freeze in most areas. French breakfast radishes are particularly suited for fall planting because they stay crisp and mild in cool weather instead of turning hot and pithy like summer radishes. Cherry Belle produces perfect round roots that are sweet and crunchy when grown in cold soil. The secret to November radish success is that cool temperatures slow their growth just enough to develop superior texture while increasing sugar content for better flavor. In mild winter zones, radishes planted now can be harvested throughout winter with succession plantings every 2 weeks. Even in colder zones, radishes planted in November will overwinter under mulch or row covers and provide the earliest possible spring harvest. The greens are also completely edible and make excellent additions to salads or stir-fries, doubling your harvest from a single planting. Turnips such as Hackeray and purple top varieties are cold weather powerhouses that thrive with November planting in zones 6 through 10. Sow seeds 1/2 inch deep in rows 12 inches apart, thinning to 4 inches between plants for proper root development. Hackeray turnips are a game changer for November planting because they're sweet enough to eat raw and mature in just 38 days, potentially giving you a harvest before deep winter. Purple top turnips take a bit longer, but are incredibly cold hardy, actually becoming sweeter after exposure to frost as starches convert to sugars. What makes turnips ideal for November is their dual-purpose nature, providing both nutritious greens and storage roots from a single planting. The greens can be harvested when plants are young without harming root development, giving you fresh cooking greens while roots continue sizing up. Turnips planted now develop slowly through winter, avoiding the woody texture that plagues spring-planted turnips that mature in heat. They can survive temperatures down to 20 degrees Fahrenheit with just a mulch covering, and even colder with row cover protection. A 10-foot row planted in November will provide fresh greens within 3 weeks and mature roots that can be harvested all winter long as needed. Winter carrots, including Autumn King and Napoli varieties, actually develop superior flavor when planted in November for zones 6 through 10, though they require patience. Plant seeds 1/4 inch deep in loose, stone-free soil, keeping rows 12 inches apart and thinning to 2 inches between plants. The trick with November carrot planting is that while germination is slow in cold soil, sometimes taking 3 weeks, the resulting carrots are infinitely sweeter than summer carrots. Autumn King is specifically bred for fall planting and can survive temperatures down to 15 degrees Fahrenheit once established, while Napoli produces sweet, crisp roots even in cold conditions. These carrots grow slowly through winter, concentrating sugars that act as natural antifreeze, resulting in the sweetest carrots you'll ever taste. In mild winter areas, you can begin harvesting baby carrots by February and full-sized roots by April. Even in colder zones, November planted carrots will overwinter under a thick layer of straw mulch and can be dug anytime the ground isn't frozen. The extended growing period allows carrots to develop complex flavors impossible to achieve with quick-growing summer carrots. Many gardeners intentionally leave November-planted carrots in the ground all winter, harvesting them as needed for the freshest possible storage. Kale varieties like Winterbore and Red Russian become absolutely extraordinary when planted in November for zones 6 through 10. Direct Seed A, quarter-inch deep or transplant starts 18 inches apart, giving these robust plants room to develop their full potential. Winterbore is the ultimate winter kale, with extremely frilly leaves that can survive temperatures down to 0 degrees Fahrenheit without protection. Red Russian develops gorgeous purple-tinged leaves with exceptional cold tolerance and a sweet, tender flavor that intensifies with each frost. November-planted kale experiences gradual cold acclimation, making it far more cold-hardy than spring-planted. Kale suddenly exposed to fall frosts. The cold temperatures trigger sugar production in the leaves, completely eliminating the bitterness that many people associate with kale. You can begin harvesting outer leaves in about 50 days, and the plants will continue producing new growth from the center all winter long. A single kale plant established in November can provide weekly harvests for 6 months or more, making it one of the most productive crops per square foot. The leaves are also more tender when grown in cold weather because the plant grows slowly, never developing the tough texture of summer kale. Mustard greens, particularly Red Giant and Mizuna varieties, are November planting champions for zones 6 through 10 that provide spicy, nutritious greens when little else is growing. Sow seeds a quarter-inch deep and thin to 6 inches apart for Mizuna or 10 inches for the larger Red Giant variety. These fast-growing greens can germinate in soil temperatures as low as 40 degrees Fahrenheit and mature in just 35 to 40 days, giving you harvest before deep winter sets in. Red Giant produces stunning purple-tinged leaves with a wasabi-like kick that mellows considerably in cold weather, becoming almost sweet after frost exposure. Mizuna is milder with delicate, feathery leaves that add texture and a gentle peppery flavor to winter salads. November planting means these greens avoid flea beetles and other warm weather pests that typically plague mustard family crops. You can harvest them as baby greens in just 3 weeks, or let them mature for larger leaves perfect for stir-fries and soups. Both varieties are incredibly cold-hardy, surviving temperatures down to 20 degrees Fahrenheit with minimal protection. They also regrow after cutting, providing multiple harvests from a single November planting that can continue producing through winter and into spring. Arugula, especially the Sylvetta variety, is perfectly suited for November planting in zone 6 through 10 because it actually prefers cool weather for optimal growth. Broadcast seeds lightly on the soil surface or plant in rows a quarter-inch deep, thinning to 4 inches apart once germinated. Sylvetta is a wild-type arugula that's significantly more cold-hardy than standard varieties, easily surviving temperatures down to 20 degrees Fahrenheit. This variety produces deeply lobed leaves with an intense, complex, peppery flavor that's more nuanced when grown in cool weather rather than the harsh bite of summer arugula. Seeds germinate quickly even in cold soil, often sprouting in just 5 to 7 days when temperatures are in the 40s and 50s. You can start harvesting baby leaves in just 20 days for salads, or wait 40 days for mature leaves perfect for cooking. The plants will produce continuously all winter in mild climates, or go dormant in colder zones and resume growth in early spring. What makes November arugula exceptional is that it won't bolt to seed like spring-planted arugula does when days get longer. A single sowing now provides months of harvests, and Sylvetta readily self-sows for a permanent patch. Green onions, particularly the evergreen hardy white variety, are ideal for November planting in zones 6 through 10 because they establish quickly and provide fresh onion flavor all winter long. Plant sets are transplants 1 inch deep and 2 inches apart in rows, or broadcast seed a quarter-inch deep for a thicker patch. Evergreen hardy white is specifically bred for overwintering and can survive temperatures down to 10 degrees Fahrenheit once established. These remarkable plants will continue growing slowly through winter in mild areas or go dormant in colder zones and burst into growth at the first hint of spring. You can begin harvesting individual scallions in just 60 days from November planting, pulling them as needed for fresh cooking. The beauty of fall-planted scallions is that they develop much stronger root systems over winter, producing thicker, more flavorful stems come spring compared to spring-planted onions. They're virtually maintenance-free once established, requiring no fertilization or pest control through winter months. If you leave some plants unharvested, they'll multiply into clumps that can be divided for perpetual harvests. A small patch planted now will provide fresh green onions from January through June, filling the gap when storage onions are running low. Parsley, specifically Italian flatleaf variety, thrives with November planting in zones 6 through 10 because cool weather eliminates the germination problems that plague spring sowings. Soak seeds overnight before planting a 1/4 inch deep, as this speeds up the notoriously slow germination process. Italian flat-leaf parsley is more cold-hardy than curly varieties, surviving temperatures down to 15 degrees Fahrenheit with light protection. November planting allows parsley to establish a strong root system before winter, resulting in explosive growth come spring that can last until the following winter. The slow growth during cold months concentrates flavor compounds, producing intensely aromatic leaves far superior to quick-growing summer parsley. You can begin harvesting outer leaves in about 70 days, and the plant will continue producing from the center for months. Parsley planted now won't bolt to seed until its second summer, giving you nearly 18 months of continuous harvest from a single planting. The plants actually become more cold, hardy as winter progresses, often surviving temperatures that would kill newly planted spring parsley. Even if top growth dies back in severe cold, the roots survive and regrow vigorously in spring, often producing before newly seeded parsley even germinates. Cilantro varieties like Slowbolt and Carib absolutely love being planted in November for zones 6 through 10, as cool weather is exactly what this herb needs to thrive. Plant seeds a 1/4 inch deep and thin to 4 inches apart, or broadcast thickly for a dense patch of baby cilantro. These varieties are specifically bred to resist bolting, but November planting gives you the ultimate advantage because short days and cool temperatures naturally prevent flowering. Carib is particularly exceptional for fall planting, producing large, flavorful leaves on plants that can handle temperatures down to 25 degrees Fahrenheit. The cool weather of late fall and winter produces cilantro, with more complex flavor and tender leaves compared to the tough, bitter plants that struggle in summer heat. You'll have fresh cilantro, ready to harvest in just 45 days, and plants will continue producing for months instead of the mere weeks you get from spring plantings. November planted cilantro often self-sows its spring seeds, establishing a patch that returns every fall without replanting. The plants grow slowly but steadily through winter, never developing the soapy flavor some people detect in heat-stressed summer cilantro. Rhubarb crowns, particularly the crimson red variety, should absolutely go in the ground in November for zones 3 through 8, because dormant planting gives them the best possible start. Plant crowns with the buds just at soil level in holes enriched with compost, spacing plants 3 to 4 feet apart as they'll become massive producers. November planting allows rhubarb to experience the winter chill it requires for proper dormancy, which is essential for vigorous spring growth and decades of production. Crimson red is exceptionally cold-hardy and produces thick, tender stalks with gorgeous red coloring that holds even when cooked. The beauty of planting dormant crowns now is that roots establish all winter long without having to support leaf growth, resulting in stronger plants that can often be lightly harvested in their second year instead of waiting until year 3. Rhubarb is one of the first crops ready in spring, providing tart stalks for pies and preserves when little else is producing. A single crown planted this November will produce for 20 years or more, yielding 5 to 8 pounds of stalks annually once mature. The plants are virtually indestructible once established, requiring almost no maintenance beyond an annual compost top dressing and occasional division after many years. Asparagus crowns like Jersey Night are best planted in November for zones 3 through 8 because dormant crowns establish more successfully than spring plantings. Dig trenches 12 inches deep and 18 inches wide. Placing: crowns 18 inches apart with roots spread over small mounds of soil mixed with compost. Jersey Night is an all-male variety that puts all its energy into spear production rather than seeds, yielding up to twice as much as older varieties. November planting lets roots develop all winter without the stress of supporting fern growth, resulting in stronger plants that establish faster and can sometimes be lightly harvested a year earlier than spring-planted crowns. The gradual soil settling over winter naturally achieves the proper planting depth without the fuss of progressive filling required with spring planting. Each crown you plant now will produce for 15 to 20 years, with mature plants yielding 20 to 30 spears per plant each spring. Asparagus planted in November emerges earlier in spring than spring-planted crowns, extending your harvest season by weeks. The investment of planting asparagus crowns this November will reward you with decades of gourmet spears that would cost hundreds of dollars annually if purchased at grocery stores. Bare root fruit trees, including Honeycrisp apples, Bartlett pears, and Santa Rosa plums, are actually best planted in November for zones 4 through 9, despite what most people think. Planting dormant trees now allows roots to establish all winter in cool, moist soil without the stress of supporting leaves, resulting in explosive growth come spring. Dig holes twice as wide as the root spread but no deeper than the root ball, keeping the graft union 2 to 3 inches above soil level. November-planted trees develop root systems that can be twice as extensive as spring-planted trees by midsummer, making them more drought-tolerant and productive sooner. The cool, moist conditions of late fall are ideal for root growth, which continues even when air temperatures drop near freezing. Trees planted now avoid transplant shock because they're dormant, settling in gradually over winter instead of struggling through summer heat. You'll see significantly more growth in the first year from November planting compared to spring planting, often getting fruit a full year earlier. Bare root trees are also considerably less expensive than container trees, often half the price, and November is when nurseries have the best selection. The establishment advantage from November planting can mean the difference between success and failure in marginal climates. Berry bushes, including blue crop blueberries and heritage raspberries, establish best when planted as dormant plants in November for zones 4 through 9. Plant blueberries in acidic soil with the crown at soil level, spacing bushes 4 to 6 feet apart, while raspberries go 2 to 3 feet apart in rows. November planting eliminates the transplant stress that often sets back spring-planted berries, allowing them to establish extensive root systems over winter for vigorous spring growth. Blue crop is the standard for reliability, producing heavy crops of large, sweet berries on plants that can produce for 50 years or more. Heritage raspberries are ever-bearing, meaning November-planted canes will give you 2 harvests next year, one in early summer and another in fall. The cool, moist soil conditions of late fall are perfect for root development, which continues at soil temperatures above 40 degrees even when tops are dormant. Berry bushes planted now typically outgrow spring plantings by 50% in their first year and often fruit a year sooner. Dormant plants are also much cheaper than leafed-out spring plants, and you'll find better variety selection at nurseries in November. Each bush you plant now will produce pounds of fruit annually for decades, providing thousands of dollars worth of berries over their lifetime. Elephant garlic, particularly the giant softneck variety, needs November planting in zones 5 through 10 to achieve its massive size potential. Plant individual cloves 4 to 6 inches deep and 8 to 12 inches apart, giving these giants more room than regular garlic. Despite its name, elephant garlic is actually a type of leek, but it's grown exactly like garlic and produces bulbs that can weigh over a pound each. November planting is essential because elephant garlic requires an even longer cold period than regular garlic to form proper bulbs, needing at least 8 to 10 weeks below 40 degrees. Giant softneck variety is particularly productive, often producing 4 to 6 enormous cloves per bulb, plus several smaller bulbils that can be replanted. The flavor is much milder than regular garlic, almost sweet when roasted, making it perfect for people who find regular garlic too strong. You'll harvest these giants in mid to late summer, about a month after regular garlic, when bottom leaves brown, but tops are still green. Each clove planted now can yield a bulb weighing 3 to 4 times what you planted, making this one of the most dramatic increases in harvest weight of any crop. The spectacular size always impresses at farmers markets, often selling for premium prices. Cover crop mixes, specifically winter rye combined with crimson clover, are November soil-building superstars for zones 3 through 10 that work while your garden sleeps. Broadcast 3 to 4 pounds per 1,000 square feet on any bare soil, raking lightly to ensure good seed contact, and let these workhorses transform your garden over winter. Winter rye is incredibly cold-hardy, germinating in soil as cold as 35 degrees and surviving temperatures well below zero once established. The combination with crimson clover creates a powerful partnership where rye provides quick erosion control and weed suppression, while clover fixes nitrogen from the air into your soil. If planted in early November, you'll see green growth within a week that continues slowly through winter, protecting your soil from compaction and nutrient leaching during heavy rains. Come spring, this living mulch will explode into growth, adding massive amounts of organic matter when you chop and till it under 3 weeks, before planting summer crops. The root systems can extend 3 to 5 feet deep, breaking up compacted soil and mining nutrients from deep layers, bringing them to the surface for next year's vegetables. A November cover crop planting can add the equivalent of a 2-inch layer of compost to your soil, improving both fertility and structure. This single planting prevents erosion, suppresses weeds, adds nitrogen, improves soil structure, and feeds beneficial soil organisms all winter long. And now for the bonus tip gardeners swear by. The secret to doubling your November planting success is using your fallen leaves as instant cold frames. Take 4 hay bales or even just piled leaves to create walls around your newly planted beds, then lay an old window, clear shower curtain, or piece of plastic sheeting on top. This creates a microclimate that's 10 to 15 degrees warmer than the outside air, essentially moving your garden 1 full growing zone south. The decomposing leaves or straw actually generate gentle heat while insulating the soil, keeping it workable weeks longer into winter. You can plant tender crops like lettuce and spinach that normally wouldn't survive your zone, and everything grows faster in the protected environment. The best part is this costs absolutely nothing if you use materials you already have. And come spring, those decomposed leaves become mulch for your beds. This simple technique can extend your growing season by 2 full months and turn marginal November plantings into guaranteed successes. Thanks for sticking with me through the entire video. If you found this helpful, give it a like, subscribe for more gardening tips, and check out our other videos on growing a better garden.